that?
What's that?
Is that the new starting
No,
bell?
but I'm putting it on silent
Put
right
mine,
now.
I shut mine down.
We're nowhere around here.
Everybody's getting all the same
Yeah,
notification.
I turned my phone off.
I'd like to call the meeting to order, please, and welcome all those in attendance and those live streaming. We have a full council today. I think we do.
We do.
And however, we are missing a few. Cliff Gravier, our town manager, is here. Terry Tiemann is out sick. And Raylene, our town clerk, has some home issues. And Will Wharton is with us, our IT director. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
The flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of the minutes of our regular meeting held April 25th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Okay, any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of the financial report. Mrs. Keel.
Thank you, Mayor. This report covers the budget through April 30th, 2025. We are 8% through fiscal year 2026. We collected 4.5% of our revenue for the year compared to 4.1% last year, and we have expended 6.9% of our expense budget compared to 7.1% last year. Recognizing that this report is subject to audit, I move that the council approve this unaudited report.
Second.
Do we have a motion?
She's spoken. She did.
I moved.
Second.
You move.
Yep.
Okay. Second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Was there any discussion?
No.
Okay. We're a little out of order. Announcements in recognition of visitors and public comment. I have a number of announcements I'd like to make. So this is a little more than normal, but let me go through these. I think they're very important. Bethany Beach Town Council will hold a special election Saturday, May the 24th, 2025, from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. for the purpose of voting for or against the Town Council's proposal to borrow a sum of money to construct a new water clarifier. Please be aware that our current water tower loan will be paid off in December of this year, so taking on a capital loan will show little difference on our residents' capital portion of their water bill. As a point of information, if the referendum is approved, the state has already preliminarily approved Bethany Beach for a sum of $4.9 million for a loan. It won't be that much, but we're approved to that much at 2%, thanks to the efforts of our Assistant Town Manager, Terry Tiemann. In case you haven't noticed, our summer season is upon us. Parking fees are now in effect, no dogs on the beach or boardwalk, and the town is working toward full summer mode. We have 15 seasonal police this year, 17 parking enforcement attendants, 12 beach ambassadors, 72 lifeguards, 10 trolley drivers, 14 added public works personnel. In case you haven't added those up, that's 140 added summer employees joining our 45 permanent employees. Many of our summer employees are part-time to manage schedules and to deal with the summer heat. This summer, unlike past summers, we have had proper coverage for our summer season. Please welcome them when you see them around town. Town management and council have been active in state issues recently, attending the Delaware League of Local Governments, Delaware Local Governments Day at the Legislative Hall in Dover last Tuesday. We met with our legislators, the governor, lieutenant governor, and had an opportunity to discuss our local issues directly with them. There are several bills currently being considered which may affect us directly. I'm going to turn this over to Rich for a minute here because he is up to date on these sort of things and is a member of the Legislative Advocacy Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. We thought it was a good idea to talk about a couple bills that are pending in Dover that might have an impact on us and here in Bethany. And I just want to talk about two of them today. We're going to keep an eye on things generally, but the two that I want to focus on first is an accessible housing bill. This is a bill that's in the House of Delegates that's designed to increase the availability of accessible housing for people. Some parts of the state, I guess, have some perceived, anyway, serious issues with that. This bill, if passed, would require every municipality in the state to provide the opportunity for what's called accessory dwelling units, or I guess they're called ADUs. I should put my glasses on. And allow those things to occur in their cities or in towns, whether or not they might be in violation of current zoning requirements, space issues, covering of the lot issues and so forth like that. It does provide an ability for the states, the municipalities, to continue their rules so long as those rules are not prohibitive barriers or otherwise seriously limit what they can do with these ADUs. No one yet knows what that means. I guess a court someday will decide what that means, but if this were to pass, we would have to go back and review our ordinances and perhaps make changes to them, or at least be mindful of the fact that sometimes ours may conflict with this bill if it were passed. And I do want to say, with respect to this bill and with the next I'm going to talk about, they've made no distinction for size of town. So you might say what's an issue in Wilmington might be a different issue down here, but there's no distinction in size. The second bill is accessible parking. I guess the word accessible is big in Dover this month. And that's a bill that would strengthen the availability of accessible parking in the state. There's an issue that people are parking where they're not supposed to be parking, or that there's not enough accessible spots available. So the state is anticipating passing a bill that would require more accessible parking spots, including additional spots for larger vans, and would require the towns to basically issue permits for businesses starting to create parking or change their parking lots, and would also require towns to enforce the rules, which would, for a town like ours, for example, if this were to pass, I guess we would have to be more up to date, or someone would have to be more up to date on ADA rules and how the parking rules apply. So it would be additional burdens again to a town like ours, or any town really in the state. So those are two bills worth keeping an eye on. Both bills have been passed out of committee and are going to be on the floor, I think, next week in the various houses. So we'll keep an eye on what's going to happen in the next couple weeks on those bills.
Thank you, Rich. I've been asked recently why a path through the Walcheck property is under discussion again. Well, we've had a number of residents and property owners reach out requesting a pathway across the Walcheck property, as well as those voicing strong opposition. Our recently completed town traffic study also indicates we should consider a Walcheck property, a Walcheck path, as part of our future pedestrian and bicycle safety efforts, along with other larger efforts on Pennsylvania Avenue and on Atlantic Avenue. Our town manager, acting on these recommendations and requests and consistent with his responsibilities, has reached out to various engineering firms, including the environmental engineer who recently, working for the Center for the Inland Bays, completed a large environmental design for their James Farm Preserve. These are all early effort feasibility reviews on a number of possible future, and the key word here is possible future town efforts. On the possible path, the town seeks recommendations and information on environment, resilience, wildlife, and safety for decision-making purposes. Efforts on any planned project would only proceed to design and study phases after council consideration and public information and input sessions, as is normal process. As most of you know, the 15-acre Walczek property was purchased by the town 10 years ago after Mr. Walczek proposed several times different schemes for residential development, including a road extension. It was purchased for the explicit purpose to prevent residential development and to maintain it in its natural state, similar to our nature center, and for the mutual benefit of our entire town. The environmental engineer is currently in the process of his review, after which there will be a public presentation whereby he will present his thoughts publicly. One suggestion I would have is to rename the property, as I do not think consider the reference of Walczek is appropriate. Perhaps we might get some suggestions on that matter from our citizens. That concludes my announcements. I would like to, if there are those with the public who would like to get up and make a comment, now is the time.
Hey, Mayor, excuse me, before we do that, can we also do recognition?
Sure.
I just wanted to thank the parking team. I think this is relatively new, right? When I was looking at it, I took it home from one of our meetings and began to think, did we do this before? And we have these starting to be posted now. And I think the team has done an excellent job of explaining the parking, the differences, and it's, I think, a really credit to the team for putting this together. So I just wanted to give a shout out to the whole parking team for that.
Thank you, Mickey. Ron, if you could state your name and address,
Rod Oak,
you know the
651
drill.
Tingle Avenue. My only comment on the proposed walkway is I'm assuming, or I'm hoping, that due process would be followed, as is being done with the water filtration project, where a referendum is made, so that, because we know this is a very contentious issue. There are people who are really, really for it, really, really against it, and there's lots of people already talking about this. And the emotions are running high to the point where people are putting out signs advocating for or against it, and the signs are being stolen. It's down to that level of emotion at this point. So if it makes environmental sense, that's fine, but it also has to make sense in terms of the voice of the populace of this town. If the majority of people are against it, that has to weigh heavily into the decision. So my only comment is, I hope that the due process here includes environmental studies, includes design studies, includes budgetary studies, but perhaps most important of all, includes the voice of the people.
Thank you.
Yep.
And I assure you, we as council want to know how the people feel. We're certainly not going to go ahead with something which is unpopular for the majority of people. But we serve the entire town of Bethany Beach, and we want what's best for the entire town of Bethany Beach.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any comment on that?
Well said.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
My name is Wing Ing. I'm 669 Evans Ave.
Pardon me, can you say that again?
669 Evans Ave.
Okay, thank you.
And 604th Street, too. My only comment is that I hope that the information is presented thoroughly to the entire community. I was just speaking to one of my neighbors, and he was fearful that cars
A little bit closer to the microphone there.
cars will be driving through the neighborhood and there'll be problems with parking and whatnot. And to my understanding from reading the coastal news, that's not the case. This is just for pedestrians and bicyclists that you're proposing. So my only comment is that hopefully we get the correct information out to the public so that people are not working off of bad information. That's the only comment.
Okay, thank you. I've heard that expressed before, and believe me, it will be looked into and addressed. Anybody else have any comments? Hello, Chip Smith, 428 Wigan Lane, Bethany Beach. My views on the walkway are well known, and if you read the Coastal Point today, you'll see my letter to the editors, so I won't go over all those points. What I'd like to say today is we have a lot of needs in this town. We've got to make sure we can renourish our beach, fix our dune. We have swales and ditches that need to be cleaned out. We have old infrastructure, water and sewer and other things. We have a lot of needs in this town. The Bladder Dam in particular, let's pay for the final design, let's pay for construction, let's get the flap gate installed. Until all of these needs are met and our community is protected, let's not spend a dime on something like a walkway through a part of town that wasn't designed for a walkway. Comparisons that say, well, they do it in other places. Well, other places were designed for walkways. They're 100 acre, 1,000 acre and bigger tracts. And walkways were part of the design, like the James Ecological Park. This little buffer, this little wetland and forest area is very important for flood storage, water quality, and to protect us. So putting the walkway there, at least in my view, is contrary to all these other things, which I do believe we should fund and complete first before we turn to optional projects like a walkway. Thank you. Thank you, Chip.
I'd like to comment.
You want to make a comment?
Yeah, I'd like to comment. I hear what has been said by everybody. I hope everybody recognizes that this particular project, which everybody seems to be all fired up about, is years in the making. It's not going to happen tomorrow. We have the dam we have to worry about, Atlantic Avenue we have to worry about, the crossing of Route 1. There are several projects that are well ahead of this one. So there hasn't been the completed study yet, and the study might say it's not a good thing to do. So don't think that we're going to railroad this thing through and get it done. There are so many things that we have to do in this town. You recognize that this town is 100 years old. The infrastructure is old. There are piping problems that were replaced last year by the county for sewer systems. We're having roads collapse because the sewers are collapsing. So those things are a priority to us. This is not. So please don't get all fired up over a walkway.
It's just one of many things, and it's probably a little low on the list. Rosemary?
I just wanted to follow up on something that Mr. Dobe said about public hearings or public participation. I think we all have different ideas about when that should occur, and this was part of the problem, I think, back when we did Pathway 101. What happened was people said we were doing all the work that needed to be done. You mentioned the clarifier. The town didn't come out and say, do you want a clarifier? The town did all the work and came and said, this is what a clarifier does. These are the reasons we should have it. What do you think? And last time when we did the pathway, what happened was we were trying to do the study to the point where some people went to DENREC to ask DENREC to not approve the study. They didn't want a study. They wanted public participation up front, saying, should we do it or should we not do it, without any basis, in fact, about whether it was a good idea, what the ecological, the environmental issues were, or whether or not DENREC would approve it. So from the point of view of the town, I think you can't just come to people and say, do you want it or don't you want it? You have to have a basis. You have to say, these are the facts, this is what it would do, this is what it would cost, do you want it or don't you want it? Much like we did with the clarifier. So I just wanted to make that point because I think we all have different ideas about what we're talking about with public participation, and I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, Rosemary. You want to say? Yeah, please.
I agree completely. My point is, all steps should be taken. Taken when it's correct, when it's the correct time to take them. But I just want to make sure that all steps should be taken. That's all.
Okay, I understand.
Okay.
And you're absolutely right. We want exactly the same thing.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else like to make a comment? Okay, we'll move into reports. Report from the Stormwater and Flood Committee. I'm going to push that off onto Bruce Fry today, a member of our committee. Thank you, Bruce.
This report should be slightly less controversial. The meeting of the Stormwater and Flood Committee was called to order at 2 p.m. on Monday, May 5th, 2025, with all committee members present except John Russell. We had the privilege of having Tony Pratt speaking. He is a well-known Delaware coastal consultant in coastal erosion, sea level rise, coastal community resilience, and coastal government affairs. Tony is a 38-year veteran of DENREC and served as the administrator of their shoreline and water management section. He provided a presentation on his views of the DENREC proposed cost-sharing study, the recent Seaside to Statewide University of Delaware Sea Grant economic study, as well as his thoughts on resiliency in Bethany Beach. He provided insight on the status of coastal replenishment, noting that this year's scheduled Rehoboth Dewey replenishment has been delayed probably a year. This will inevitably impact our scheduled 2026 replenishment at Bethany. He indicated the Corps of Engineers has lost personnel with the recent federal cutbacks, and the future of their efforts is not at this point clear. Bob Collins of our committee provided an informative presentation on the efforts of the Center for the Inland Bays on testing water quality in the bays. We reported on town efforts to distribute the University of Delaware /Sea Grant Seaside Statewide Economic Study, as well as the almost complete Pannoni Associates Bethany Sea Level Rise Study. A lot of words here. Our town manager reported on the status of the Loop Canal Flap Dam project, upcoming 2025 bulkhead, and living shoreline work. And finally, we also reported on the continuing Bethany homeowners help the town fight flooding effort during the past fall and winter season. This is a pamphlet that we have. I'd like to make two personal comments beyond this. First of all, we have to evacuate.
Oh,
Everybody's phone's going off.
So it's a tornado warning, we all have to go to the basement. No. These are all the people who have signed up for the town alert system, so congratulations. Shall I continue, or are we going to huddle in? I feel safe. I don't know about you. So.
I think we're safe right now. Unless you see
Everybody
something
sees a
out the
funnel
window.
cloud, let me know, all right? I had two personal comments. First of all, Ron Califf, who leads this flood committee, always creates an interesting agenda, which attracts quite a crowd here, and I think that's terrific. In the past, in fact, about this many people came to our meeting. Secondly, after the meeting, I spoke to Tony Pratt and I said, one of the solutions to sea level rise is to escape everybody, leave the town and move inland. I said, do you see that coming? And he said, no, not for Bethany. And I said, why? And he said, because we are a, headland. We are a headland. And I said, what's that mean? He said, there's no bay behind us that's going to gradually flood us, unlike some other beaches we're all familiar with. So I felt good about that. We're in a good beach. Any other questions before? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce. Report from the Audit Committee. Do we have someone here? Okay, I think we're gonna... We'll move on to the next one, Cultural and Historical Affairs Committee. Mrs. Califf.
The Cultural and Historical Affairs Committee held a meeting on Tuesday, May 13th. We're currently working on our 2 summer displays, one for the Women's Civic Club of Bethany Beach and the other for our lifeguards. Both of these displays will be right here in the Town Hall Museum. Monthly visitors to the Dinker Irving Museum continue to increase for us over 2024 numbers. In April, we had 47 people come through. Compared to last year, there were 29. We're planning new events at the museum for the off-season and into 2026. Our summer hours are now in effect, and we're open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 10 to noon, so do stop by and see us. And last but not least, everybody's favorite craft show, the Seaside Craft Show, will take place here Saturday, June 7th on our boardwalk and adjoining streets. The show runs from 10 to 4:30. Come join us to do some shopping, enjoy lunch at one of our favorite restaurants or your favorite restaurants, followed, of course, by more shopping. So an absolutely perfect day, and we hope to see you there. That's my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Califf. Next report from the town manager, Cliff.
Mayor, council. First thing I'll lead off with is the beach, since the video is up. We are sitting here just 5 or 6 weeks away from the 4th of July, and we are not in very good shape here with beach width. And if any of you have been to the beach, you'll notice that there is a significant drop-off. The photo belays the condition, a significant drop-off from the edge of the dune, the pathway and the Moby mats to the beach. We are hopeful that we'll have a sustained southerly flow over the next few weeks and build back the beach, but right now it's not in very good condition. Those who attended the stormwater meeting, and I think we referenced it a little bit last week, listened to Tony Pratt talk about current conditions and replenishment. And one of the things that he told everyone is that there's 3 segments to beaches that the Corps replies. The first segment is Rehoboth Dewey, second is Bethany, South Bethany, and the third is Fenwick. Fenwick is generally an add-on to Bethany and South Bethany. Rehoboth and Dewey are scheduled to be replenished in 2025. The money for that replenishment has not been allocated. We are scheduled to be replenished in 2026. This does not look good here for replenishment in the immediate future unless there's a significant change. So there's not much we can do about this. We truly are at the mercy of state and federal government, because an estimated replenishment, standalone replenishment for Bethany Beach would probably be in the neighborhood of $15 million. I know the last time Bethany and South Bethany was replenished together without Fenwick, it was $28 million. So we need the help of the federal government and state government to move forward with it, and these are the conditions that we have today. You'll see the Moby mats. One of the things that's happened is we've been able to put some Moby mats down, and we are in the process of ordering other Moby mats to finish other walkways. That has not been done because we wait till late in the season to determine how much Moby mat we need, because we never know how long the pathway is going to be. So for those people who are concerned about that, the Moby mat is not down at the beach they access. They will be down as soon as we can get that done. You see our playground across the street, It was put in 2024. We leased that property. We have a great arrangement with the Christian church. We leased the property for $1 a year. We are a couple of years in arrears for the payments, but but it's lived its useful life, and we are in the process of examining what we might replace it with. In 2004, that playground cost us $54,000. A new playground, that playground has one playground structural feature. A new playground that better makes advantage of the property as it exists would include two of those structures, but would also have a modern playground surface. The estimate for that playground is $532,000. So a significant change for us. I'm pleased to say, I'm hopeful that we are applying for a grant from DENREC that would cover half the cost of the structure. Hopefully that will be approved. Our diligent and hardworking assistant town manager has just submitted that grant here yesterday, I believe, and hopefully that'll be a positive thing for us. Did you put North Atlantic up? North Atlantic Avenue, north of Garfield Parkway, has a drainage structure on both sides of the roadway that is collapsing under the road. We have, for a couple of years, been trying to get the plan you see here, which shows the drainage lines on both sides of the road from Garfield down to the Loop Canal. Because of our unique flatness and how really basically we are at sea level, and certainly North Atlantic is a poster child for being below sea level, there's always an issue with trying to put drain pipes in those roadways. What ideally we would do would be to install a 28 or 30-inch drain down both sides of the roadway, but because there is so little fall, the engineer tells us we're going to have to put in two 15-inch pipes in each side of the roadway in order to take the volume of water to the Loop Canal. We've had about $500,000 put away for 2 years in the budget to handle the project, but the pipe, not only the two-pipe construction, the cement construction, which the engineer tells us we need instead of polyethylene, will probably drive that cost up. This is a project that will probably be done in the fall, and unfortunately, we'll be closing the roadway off. We'll try as best we can to make the sidewalks open and available to the businesses, but we'll be closing the sidewalk off between Garfield and Central as this project progresses. We'll try to make sure the project is as late in the off-season as we possibly can prior to winter. We have a couple of additional safety enhancements we want to do on Route 26. They are in your packets and will be on our agenda here later today. One of them is at the eastern entrance to Half Moon Drive and back into Bethany West off of Route 26. There has always been a problem right there at the light where traffic backs up at the light because there is no right-hand turn lane. And that forces cars onto Collins, which we try to discourage people from using it as a throughway, and takes them off of 26 and pushes them back onto Collins. It's been a concern in Bethany West for a number of years, and we have commissioned a design and construction documents with DelDOT approval that would widen Half Moon and create a right-hand turn lane. That, again, is something we would hope to be able to do in the off-season. In addition, we've had some issues and concerns about Kent Avenue and Garfield Parkway Extended and the island. As you come north on Kent on the east side of the roadway, if you're walking towards Central Park and you reach Garfield Parkway Extended at the island, once you get to the island, there's no effective way to cross the island and get to the crosswalk. You're forced to walk into the street with the traffic if you want to get to the crosswalk or cut across the grass. This is a project that will create a walkway, DelDOT compliant, that would come from Kent, cross the island at Garfield Extended, and take you to the crosswalk on Route 26. And that, again, is something we hope to be able to do in the fall. Would you go to the next one, last one? And a special shout out to Bill Bergfeld. Bill came to the town and built this exquisite little library and donated it to the town, and it's installed on Central Avenue on the park property. This is also the genesis for the Cultural and Historic Affairs Committee to look at establishing a little library program around town. For those that you that don't know what it is, and I wasn't familiar with them, these are structures that are placed around town where residents can put books in and take books out, and it's sort of like a free library exchange. I know the museum is looking to create a little library that looks similar to the museum to place in front of the museum, and we've had conversations about what little library structures might look like to place in the rest of the town. And again, thank you, Bill. Split cedar shake roof, I mean, this is okay, this is okay. Two things that aren't on my report, but I think I need to address a little bit. And the first is referendums. Bethany Beach Town Councils have never been councils that let their decisions that they should make be made by referendum. The last two referendums the town has had have dealt with borrowing. The first one was the water tower. The town council decided we needed the water tower, moved ahead to build the water tower, but by the town code, which stipulates that we need a referendum when we borrow a certain amount of money or borrow it for a certain length of time, the issue was taken to referendum. The same thing with the clarifier. The clarifier isn't something we're asking residents to say yes or no to. The only thing we're asking is, do you want us to borrow the money or don't you want us to borrow the money? In fact, we can't build the clarifier unless we do borrow the money. One other thing that I think none of us would want to live in a community that only took care of its needs. Bethany, I think, has been distinguished and identified by the things that we have wanted to do and have done, like our streetscape on Garfield Parkway, like our new bandstand, our new plaza, like our park, like our nature center, like our museum, like the decorative lights on Route 1, like our beautification program, have helped define the community, make us who we are, and improved all of our property values. Wants and needs have to be balanced. You just don't do one or the other. And Mayor, that's all I have.
Very good. Thank you, Cliff. Does anybody want to say anything before we move into our business, old business and new business?
Mayor, I just wanted to thank Mr. Garvey again for the projects, particularly the Half Moon and 26, as you talked about, coming into Bethany West. That, as we talked about, in addition to a traffic issue, it's a huge issue from a pedestrian safety perspective, right? Because you've got such a confluence of cars trying to be a little bit creative with how you get into the diner, how you move around. So thank you for moving forward with that. In addition to the Kent Avenue one, I was on that today for a little bit. So thank you.
You're very welcome. We would have done Half Moon earlier. It's taken me about a year to understand what exactly you wanted. So, but we're moving ahead with it.
Those people out in Bethany West can be difficult. Okay, all business. This is a second reading. Discussion, consideration, and possible vote to allow authorized purchase amounts for the town manager by purchasing policy approved by the town council. Mrs. Keel.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is the second reading of the new proposed ordinance, and it reads, to supervise the purchase of all materials, supplies, and equipment for which funds are provided in the budget, and to make contracts necessary for operation or maintenance of town services. The town manager will have and follow a purchasing policy that specifies when the town council must give prior approval of a purchase. Revisions to the purchasing policy must be approved by the town council. And this is the same thing we read last month, and we didn't have any comments to this proposed ordinance.
Okay, do we have any, do we have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Okay, any discussion, council? Any discussion in audience? No. Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. New business, discussion, consideration, and possible vote on adopting a new purchasing policy. Mrs. Keel.
Thank you, Mayor. So on the back of the ordinance we just approved, we reviewed the town's purchasing policy. The town bases its purchasing policy on the policy used by the state of Delaware. We use the similar purchasing limits, and they generally get changed every few years, but due to the cost of everything increasing, they've been changing it more often. So to make sure that we are up to date with our policy, we are proposing that we make a change so that the purchasing policy will not have specific numbers in it. It will just reference the guidelines in the state purchasing policy. And this was in the briefing materials and has been available for everyone to read and comment on, and I am not aware of any comments.
Okay.
So I move that we approve the new purchasing policy for the town.
Second.
Discussion?
Can I ask a question, just to clarify? When changes are made then on a going forward basis, the council will have to act. It won't be automatic. The COLAs won't be automatic. We just have to make it an action of the town council to change the numbers going forward. Is that
Well,
my understanding?
no, we wouldn't, unless I'm wrong.
You will have to vote.
We will have to vote.
We'll have to vote. That's
It's
fine.
referenced in the policy that you might use CPI as an indicator or a reference point, but it's not specific, so
So-
you'll have to vote
So
to
we have
increase
to
it.
vote, and we can use kind of whatever we think is
Whatever-
appropriate.
yes.
Okay, that's what, I just wanted to clarify. That's all I understood. Okay, good, okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? Audience? You've already made the motion,
It's been seconded.
and it's been seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
The next order of business is discussion and consideration for the vote for the appointment of Timothy Hines to the Board of Adjustments. Mayor.
Council, you have all had a copy of Tim's bio. As you know, Mike Loftus, Chair of the Board of Adjustment, and myself have interviewed Tim. He's also a close acquaintance of Bob Rush. We all feel he will be a great add to the Board of Adjustment, as well as a positive contributor to the town. I make the motion that we appoint Tim Hines to the Board of Adjustment.
Second?
Discussion?
Good addition.
Yeah. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Discussion, consideration, and possible vote on the purchase of a new sound equipment for the bandstand production for the 2025 concert series from Mid-South Audio in the amount of $67,624. Mr. Gravier.
Mayor, this is a purchase that is a sole source purchase because we are buying it from the vendor that actually does the sound management of our system when we do our performances on the bandstand. They also have it in stock. It's late in the season. Julie had made other arrangements that we had taken to bid, but the contractor that promised to deliver the equipment was not able to do that. I just advised her a week or two ago. So we have sole sourced this with this vendor, and he has the needed equipment in stock, and we needed to move forward with this year's productions. The difference in cost between what Julie had with her original estimate is just a few $1,000s compared to this number, so it's not significant. And again, this is the vendor who actually shows up and does sound management for our performances. Our equipment has lived its useful life. Unfortunately, even though we store it seasonally, weather has an impact on this type of equipment. It's sensitive electronic equipment, and it's a point in time where it needs to be replaced.
Question. With Memorial Day just a week away,
Yes,
is this feasible to get this done?
yes. He has what we need in stock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Discussion? Any discussion?
So Cliff, the way it's work, bands would like sort of plug into our system like that rather than then we bring in their own?
We do the amplification, and we
Okay.
also manage it, so when we send it to YouTube, we also monitor that and send it to YouTube in a way that accentuates it, so.
Awesome, great. Thank you.
And this equipment is an upgrade. It's not.
Yes, oh, it's certainly an
Sound will
upgrade,
be better.
yes. I mean, technology is technology, yes.
Okay. Any Any comments from the audience? Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Discussion, consideration, possible vote on purchasing a 2025 Police Silverado 1500 from Hertrick in the amount of $50,733. Mr. Gravier.
This is a purchase from state contract. When we purchase from the state contract, the state has gone to the time, effort, and trouble to bid and brings in a low price with their purchase packages offered to municipalities. This is $50,733 for a police pursuit vehicle package for a new Silverado. That money is in our budget. Part of it has been paid for by a grant from Sussex County.
So Cliff, that basically comes ready to go from a police perspective, or?
No, the police department ends up adding about $25,000 worth of electronic equipment to every vehicle they purchase.
Okay.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Discussion, consideration, and possible vote on a proposal from Whitman, Reichart and Associates LLP for the design and intersectional improvements at State Route 26 and Half Moon Drive and Evans Avenue in the amount of $50,000. Mr. Gravier.
The town uses Whitman Record in most of its work where we have a lot of interaction with the Delaware Department of Transportation. They handle our applications and design for our flashing beacons on Route 1, flashing beacons on Kent Avenue, and any work we have done on Route 26, and also our assessments of needs for flashing beacons on 26 and/or stoplights on 26. I mentioned this particular project earlier. This is one that will affect Half Moon and 26 and make exit from Bethany West onto 26 easier.
Thank you, Mr. Gravier. Do we have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Gravier, $50,000, that's a not to exceed?
Yes, I'm both this and the one that we're about to do after this. The contract is specific not to exceed $50,000. For these, where generally he comes in several $1,000s below that, but he words the contract that way.
Okay, I just want to be sure because it's 50,000. It seems to be a rather round number.
Well, it's also, it seems excessive, but it's not
Yes.
just design. It's design, it's the application to DelDOT, working through the process, and then the design of the construction documents. So this is, you'll have the package to take to bid when you're done with DelDOT approval. So it's more than just a simple design.
Do they also supervise during construction?
Yes, they have supervised our beacon construction, so I'm sure they would do this also.
But that's additional.
I believe that would be additional, yes,
Okay.
depending on the construction cost.
Okay.
So this is a whole package.
It is not,
Design, so you can turn this over for an actual, it's a bid package.
yes, but not construction oversight. Okay.
Cliff, does this include, and we talked about this before, I think, I'm just trying to remember, because we've had a number of instances there where drivers have, if they've been trying to maneuver in and out, have backed into swales and other such things. Does this include any of that in terms of the routing of the water or the swales, or?
Well, there are no real swales, open swales at that particular intersection until you get farther down the roadway. I would imagine anything they would do, there are some buried pipe, so the pipe will stay there, but I don't think it impacts anything with swales if you look at both sides of the road today.
Okay.
As you get further south on Half Moon, there are some significant swales that you could lose your car in on the right side of the roadway, but not at this particular place.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Okay. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Discussion, consideration, possible vote on a proposal, again from Whitman, Reichart and Associates LLP for the design of pedestrian improvements at State Route 26, Kent Avenue, and Garfield Extended, in the amount of $50,000. Mr. Gravier.
Not to exceed 50,000, Mayor. And yes, as we've discussed, this is a project to enhance that crosswalk at Kent and Garfield Extended.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion?
Just one quick question on, with the amount of work we send through certain contractors, do we have, like, purchase policies where we get discounts given volume of work, or? No, we do not have anything like that. Okay. Something we might want to consider going forward.
Okay, any comments from the audience? Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Lastly, consider a motion to go to executive session to discuss personnel matters pursuant to 29 Del.C 10004B 9 and 6 relating to personal matters. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That concludes our meeting today. Do we have a motion to, well, we're not going to adjourn because
We're not going to adjourn.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for attending, and those listening online. Stay safe, enjoy the spring weather,
Watch out for those tornadoes.
and walk out through those tornadoes.